Hello and welcome to Central Georgia Focus, the Ask Mayor Miller edition. I'm your host today, the Murphy Center for Collaborative Journalism's Liz Fabian. As always, we sit down every month with Macon-Bibb County Mayor Lester Miller and ask your questions and questions from the Center for Collaborative Journalism. Mr. Mayor, we're in the hottest days of the summer right now, so how is the county coping with all of the outside workers that they have and caring for those without air conditioning or shelter?
Well, very cautiously. We make sure that our employees have plenty of hydration, schedule a lot of the main jobs early in the morning before it gets too hot. But simply we let them know that you have to let us know if you're having issues that you're challenged with. As far as those that experience homelessness and outside there, we have many places that they can go to. We publicize one of those lists to make sure people know where they can go get out of the heat, and that's with all of our partners that are collaboration with Macon-Bibb County, some of our schools, our Brookdale Resource Center, and things of that nature.
And of course, we always have the recreation centers that are open, and that's a good place for people just to go and cool off. We also have local libraries and Macon Mall. I see folks walking there all the day. It's become quite a little racetrack for folks walking on the indoors, and it's climatically controlled. President Trump recently signed an executive order that allows for the appropriate use of civil commitment to shift the unhoused that are on the streets into some long-term institutional settings to restore public order and eliminate the urban campgrounds. Will you be taking advantage of that, do you think? Because I know we have that stubborn problem, it seems, with people who are unhoused.
Well, I think right now, as any new executive order comes out, we usually there's a delay. Those things get challenged all the time, and certainly we don't take any steps, unnecessary steps to start doing a certain way. So I think that's the same method that we use on this occasion here. We have our own policies and procedures regarding those that are unhoused, and we have an outreach program. But right now, you can still panhandle, do those things that are protected speech, and we don't typically go arrest someone unless it's an aggressive panhandling situation. We continue to battle on occasion encampments that pop up here and there, but we have a Show Me the Way app that helps on some of that information. Of course, people can report that to code enforcement and the sheriff's department. We want to get off the street. We want to get them into a nice, safe environment where they can be cool and have shelter, but more importantly, address the issues that they have. So the jury's still out on President Trump's executive order right now, something Macon-Bibb County is not utilizing yet, but we'll let it go through the process to make sure it's upheld by the courts first.
And the Downtown Business Improvement District recently approved a housing study or unhoused study for the downtown area. What do you think might come out of that?
Probably learning some of the same information that we've learned all along. If you get people housed and address the root causes, that simply helps out. But the more people that want to contribute to the situation to help find solutions, we're certainly interested in that. So we'll wait to see what happens there. But it's basically a consultant interviewing some of those that are unhoused, seeing how the unhoused part affects them, what solutions can come up to. So we're certainly willing to look at best practices.
And I've heard from a Riverside Park resident, that's the neighborhood just east of I-75, that there's an encampment now at the edge of Red Oak Drive between the railroad tracks and the river, which I think is part of the 200 acres that the Urban Development Authority owns and will eventually be part of the trail. Should people report those camps? And if so, who do they contact?
They can certainly report those camps, especially if they're on their private properties. If they're on our public right-of-ways or our public property, we're probably already aware of that. There are some encampments, like I said, that we monitor that pop up here and there. Our first effort is always to outreach to try to get them the services they need, the places they need to go to, and figure out why they're here, why they're stuck in that situation, and try to provide assistance. If it becomes a nuisance or they become aggressive or we have some other criminal issues there, then we turn that over to the sheriff's department, and in some instances the code enforcement helps with that.
And that area I'm talking about is just north of the property that the county has just approved to purchase from the Neal family that would connect Amerson River Park to that 200 acres that the UDA already owns, and then the land that y'all have bought up closer to Arkwright and such. There's a couple of houses on that Neal property land. Do y'all have plans for those houses, or?
One of the houses, the main house there, is part of the purchase. The other is not. It's an apartment, maybe a rental there. So I'll be doing our own research on what the best use of that is once we do the closing. We haven't had the closing yet. We have approved the appropriation. I will be touring the home this week to kind of put my eyes on it to see what some possibilities are. It's possible that a whole bunch of things could happen. It could be an event center, it could be a ranger station, it could be something that's sold, but we want to get the best use for the taxpayer dollars that we can.
Speaking of ranger stations, since we've last met, we had 3 more drownings in the Ocmulgee River there at Amerson Water Park. And 13 WMAZ's Bernie O'Donnell counts about a dozen of those type drownings in about 5 years. Should the county restrict access to swimming there or require life jackets? Have y'all had conversations about how to keep people safe?
We take all reasonable steps necessary to keep people safe now. Unfortunately, we can't be out there every second of every day and enforce whatever laws we do have in place. Of course, once they're in the river, they can do what they want to do. We can't restrict those. They can simply wear a life jacket, get in the river, throw it to the bank. There's nothing we can do about that. It's just ask people to be smart. It's very unfortunate anytime we have a drowning in any situation, but you can be young or old, small, it doesn't really matter. Swimming lessons is something important, and perhaps we can vamp that up. We had recently given out over 150 life jackets right there at that very place where we had the drowning at, but unfortunately accidents do happen. We just want to educate people on the process. There's plenty of signage there. I think people are aware of the law, but certainly more education never hurts.
And I think this is the first year too that you've actually closed the park when the river is running at a swift level. Is that something that you're going to continue to monitor? We
will. I think that in itself creates a dangerous situation. So we've worked with the professionals and our fire department and look at those numbers that they use, and when it reaches a certain number, we basically cut that off and shut that down. So we're not going to be closing the park just because people are swimming, but we're going to look at other issues that we can be addressed there within law, and also something that's reasonable for everybody involved.
When we were up at FEMA's training center in Maryland with the Macon-Bibb County Emergency Management Agency, one of the disaster scenarios was flash flooding with a tornado. And in light of the recent tragedy in Texas, do you think that we're prepared and people along the river are prepared for that type of flood event?
I think we're prepared as much as possible. We haven't skimmed at all when it comes to that. We'll be looking at the levee and other situations like that, but I think no amount of preparedness can probably put you in a situation what happened in Kerr in Texas there. So I think I visited that area not too far from there recently, and you can see how that would just flow downhill and how that much rain in a short period of time can do that. Of course, they had warning signs there. They didn't put enough weight or credibility in those warnings themselves, and perhaps there's some things looking back that they could have done to help prevent that. But I think we're in a pretty good shape here in Macon-Bibb County. We have a great team that we work with Spencer Hawkins, with our EMA director, and we generally take all the recommendations that they bring forward.
After recent deaths in the Bibb County Jail and the escape of 4 inmates, our U.S. Senators Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock recently asked for a federal investigation into the Bibb County Jail. What are your thoughts about that?
Really, I don't have any thoughts about that. I was contacted by Senators Warnock and Ossoff ahead of time to let me know they would be sending a letter. This is the same letters they sent to Clayton County and other folks based on just media reports and information. They are aware of the 6 initiatives that we have taken on ourselves. They realize the improvement that's going to make, and certainly I think they're in favor of those. This is something, it's election year coming up for Senator Ossoff, and there's a lot in the news, and he's been pushing that throughout the state of Georgia the last year, so it doesn't surprise me. The sheriff stands ready and willing and able to cooperate with federal authorities if in the event it should come to that, but I don't know that it's going to rise to the level of to get on the radar for the people in Washington, D.C. and Macon-Bibb County with the complaints that we have when you look at the alligator Alcatraz that you have down in Florida. So I think that we certainly should be open and transparent about the process. I think that will happen, so I'm satisfied that Macon-Bibb County is going to be fine with that. But more importantly, I believe that the steps we're taking already, including the expansion potential of the jail and all the issues that we addressed, that we're making some good headway there, is going to address the issues that we have here, and it's going to end up being a non-event overall.
The steps you're taking, are those reforms working? Can you give us some examples?
I certainly believe it's working. I think we've seen a decrease in the population over a period of time at the jail. We found some potential flaws or things we can do better in the system, what I call pain points. They're going to be the judges and the DA and the public defender all working together with the sheriff now on one accord to make sure that we expedite the process. Some of the things we learned is that the wheels of justice run very slowly in Macon-Bibb County, and we have to speed those up. We have to let people get their day in court a lot quicker, and if we can't do that within a certain amount of time, we need to make provisions for that, which is the ankle monitoring, the jobs, the mental health, and the employment possibilities we've been talking about. So I'm satisfied it's going to address all the issues, but it's just going to take some time. So 3 to 6 months, we ought to see some real results, but I'm satisfied with the progress we've already made.
Now, of course, there is that backlog of cases. So is anyone addressing the shortages at the district attorney's office? I mean, I've heard from lawyers. You're a lawyer. I'm sure you have heard some things as well.
Well, we provide a substantial budget for the district attorney as she requested, and I think she has hired new people. A lot of times people do open records requests and they see that she only has this many people on her salary or on her pay list, but actually some of those are state employees that they may not have. So the true number is not always there. There are some people going through training as well. So I think that you're going to have ebb and flows as far as it comes to the DA's office on the number of people, because quite honestly, it's not one of those positions in the state of Georgia that are easily to find. And certainly we've had some turnover there, but it shouldn't stop the wheels of justice going just because you're short some prosecutors, just like it wouldn't stop it if you had public defenders there. So I think the courts need to maintain steadfast and keep going forward with what the cases they have, and at some point in time they're going to get caught up, and we address those issues with the judges as well.
Well, Phil Wright has a comment. He said that considering the cost of housing the inmates, that it would actually be cheaper to send folks off to Harvard University. Now, if other counties, he said, are sending inmates to other lockups to save money, would that be cheaper for Macon-Bibb to send people? But we're a big community, right? We've got a big facility, and some of these smaller places don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's referring to for other lockups, but there's no one that has open capacity anywhere that you can send anybody to. Certainly, we wish there was more mental health treatment that we had, or hospitals that were available to send those that are basically in that situation there. And of course, as we get more affordable housing and more housing in Bibb County for people that are unhoused, some of those folks that are repeat offenders there, most of those people there are just repeat offenders, having been arrested some 20, 30 times for criminal trespass or whatsoever. It is $70, $74 a day. That is very expensive to house an inmate. We realize that. That's why we talked about the ankle monitor program, why it's important to get these folks back to work, get them to treatment that they need, and move on to the next phase of their lives to save money for Macon-Bibb County, but also to be able to provide better services to those getting out of jail.
Now, Macon-Bibb also has requests for proposals out for paving companies for deep patch asphalt and limestone rock asphalt paving. What's the difference?
Just different materials, different processes. Some roads are more concrete, some of them are asphalt, and of course there's restrictions and limitations on when you can do that throughout the year based on the temperature. So we got a very aggressive program that you'll see roll out the next day probably. And you'll see all the roads that we're going to be paving in Macon-Bibb County on this first round. Actually, it's about 8 rounds at one time that we're about to announce. So look forward to doing that. We got some LMIG money. We've got some other state money. Of course, we have our SPLOST money that we have set aside and some general fund money. So all that money is going to be spent very quickly, and we're looking forward to having probably 6 to 8 rounds already for the end of this year before it gets too cold to pave.
Well, Sergey Rakovsky moved here from Seattle and not only noticed that there's excessive trash on the streets in downtown, but he also said that pavement repairs on Anderson Street near Telfair and Jeff Davis Streets are what he considers low quality work. And he's had visitors come in from around the world who tell him that the city doesn't care about his street, but he says that's wrong. How can we change it?
Well, we are already changing now. I think anybody talking about roads really haven't kept up what we've been doing. We have appropriated more funds for roads than any previous administration ever has at one time, and we're going to continue to do that. As a matter of fact, we're way ahead of schedule on putting those roads out for this year to get ahead of the SPLOST that we haven't even received yet. So we've got our grading back. You'll hear a little bit about that at our next commission meeting. We'll be voting on hundreds of roads getting paved, and hopefully it's one near him.
And Jeff Penland from Lizella says, yes, we did pay for that or approve that SPLOST, and we'll be paying for it shortly. And he says that there's desperate need of repairs on Rogers, Dixon, and Fulton Mill roads, and he wants to know when that will happen, as he says they're in much worse condition than College Street that was recently partially repaved.
Well, everybody has priorities. It's more important to him and maybe more important to someone else. But we did a road study. That study has produced certain evidence. He'll be happy to know that Rogers Road is on that list, Fulton Mill Road is on that list. All those roads in his area, Dixon Road is on that list because they're some of the worst. So I think the rating is going to come back very good. You'll see that on one of those lists that I just mentioned coming up, and hopefully we can get that at least started on the process before the end of this year.
And like Sergey's comment, sometimes if you have a deep pothole, you have to go in and patch that right away. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to come back and repave the whole street, right? It's just you set priorities based on the street scans.
Well, part of the problem is if we had a road, someone had a pothole that maybe damaged a tire out on Northside Drive, getting into the hospital there by the animal place. Well, we don't own an asphalt plant, right? Macon-Bibb County doesn't have a hot asphalt. The only fix we can do temporarily is to go out there and put a cold treatment there, which doesn't last very long if it rains or people run over it. So that's a simple fix, not a permanent solution that'll come later. But we ask that they be patient during that time, and keep in mind, after pretty much November, there's no paving until March. So you'll have that period of time where you constantly have those cold patch treatments there, not any hot asphalt.
And I guess roads are one of the chief complaints you've gotten since you've been in office now, these 4.5 years?
It comes and goes, but that's been very consistent. That's why we made it our top priority. That's why the first thing we're spending out of SPLOST is going to be on roads.
You know, another hot topic just north of us is the proposed 900-acre data center that was denied by the Monroe County Planning and Zoning Commission, but their county commission will take that up and have the final say. Do you have any thoughts about that proposal?
Well, Bolingbrook area is very close to Macon-Bibb County, and certainly what affects them affects us as well. I said earlier that data centers are their own special animal. Maybe not good for every community. A community like Bolingbrook, they got to decide what they want for their community. I can't make that decision for them, but certainly it's close enough to Bibb County. I'm not saying Macon-Bibb County will never have a data center, because we may. But certainly I don't think the right place to put it is a place near residential development. A place like Bolingbrook, who has a lot of houses there, farmland, families there, a place perhaps like in Lizella, where you have a lot of close-knit houses there, but you have some land opening. Those are not the places you typically want to see a data center if you've got to have one. Certainly we have some infrastructure in Macon-Bibb County. Bolingbrook doesn't necessarily have that infrastructure there. And certainly power is always going to be a concern. Noise, nuisance is a concern. Water is a concern, although Macon-Bibb County furnishes their water through the Macon Water Authority. So there's a lot of things that are affecting that. Data centers are coming to Georgia. It's one of the hot topics in Atlanta. I'm sure there's going to be some regulation coming up soon, but we'll wait and see what the commission does there in Monroe County. And, you know, perhaps they pass it. You never know. But I don't think right now that the general sentiment for those in Bolingbrook, and they've got a large group there that I've communicated with myself, they are very much against it, and for great reason.
Now, requiring hundreds of acres, are there sites that are feasible for that in Macon-Bibb County at this point?
Feasible is an interesting word, but I do think that there's you're probably going to see a data center in Macon at some point in time. But the problem is you need to make sure that you've got all the infrastructure needed. It's near a commercial district and not residential district, so I think there's some spots there. Now, there's plenty of people who own land in Macon that have large acres that they would like to have them there, but certainly while I'm mayor of Macon-Bibb County, I wouldn't be putting those in residential areas.
Well, I know that there's kind of not a lot of leftover land in Macon-Bibb County, so what is the strategy for modern technology and industry recruitment? Because I know you sit on the Industrial Authority.
Yeah, we do have some land, but we also are working on probably expanding our existing businesses. That's where we do a lot of it at. We got an untapped market there at the airport, and of course we take a regional approach. We want to combine what they have going on in Peace County and Houston County and Twiz County and Macon-Bibb County and Monroe County, and look at it without the lines there. We can all work together. We're going to provide the workforce from most of those places, and they're going to provide our workforce as well. So you go to Twiz County, you go to the Academy Warehouse, you see a lot of Bibb County, Houston County tags. Of course, you go to Irving Tissue here in Macon, you see a lot of Houston County tags, even some Crisp County tags and those up the road. So I think we have to take a more regionalism approach, and I think we're doing that. But you know, at some point in time you do run out of land, but you got to keep encouraging new creative jobs, those kind of jobs that don't necessarily take a lot of land. And as you get more AI involved and the robots and things like that, you'll need to have a more highly skilled workforce as opposed to having the numbers there. And I think we're in a good position for all that to happen. It just takes a little bit of time to train people. And
we've seen that successful regional development with Project SOAP, with the solar field out there at Robbins, and then also Project BESS for the battery energy storage system out there. So those kinds of things might be applicable for Central Georgia Joint Development Authority, in your thinking?
I think there are. I think also the airport, as we expand the runway there at the airport and we look for new cargo freight terminals, I think there's another asset there that we have. And certainly we still have some land out in the area that we'll have some announcements on in the near future, and we have some other land near our other airports. So we've got many years left in this as well, but certainly the large big acres that you used to have is no longer existent, but we still have parts of the Brandon Williamson that we get inquiries on month to month all the time. And we're just looking for the great company, a good company that can add something to Macon-Bibb County and not just take the first person that walks through the door.
I thought it was interesting at the last Middle Georgia Regional Commission meeting that they were talking about those data center projects are no longer going to go through the regional impact kind of survey that goes on, a development of regional impact, because it doesn't fit into any of the things. So do you see some changes coming on the state maybe about how those might be regulated?
Well, certainly there's a lot of interest in the state in regulating those, but also bringing them. They bring big money, but at the same time, in my opinion, they don't bring big jobs, and they bring a lot more nuisance than they do anything else. And of course, most of them are not environmental friendly. So there's many kinds of data centers depending on how they're cooled, and I think that plays an important part on whether a community ought to consider that or not.
And a lot of your development projects that you have are geared around tourism or attracting people to downtown. Do we have any updates, let's say, on the East Bank development?
Well, East Bank is getting a lot of interest as the arena moves forward. We did select a owner's rep, MFA, there. Today we had people that were making the next level for the RFQ for the Hotel Convention Center. So we'll get proposals and select someone there probably in the next 30 days. And the Renaissance on the River project is coming forward very nicely, and there'll be some announcement on that and some groundbreaking very soon. So we're very excited about what the possibilities are going to be for not just that area, but all of Macon. But a lot of it is tourism, it's economic impact, it's economic development. And every time we bring these in, they create good jobs, good savings for taxpayers, and certainly reducing taxes and bringing good quality jobs and quality of life is something that's important to our administration, and we're going to continue to move that forward.
What's the next step for the big chunk there at Emory Highway and 2nd Street where River Edge is still there, but most of the other tenants are gone?
We've got those folks will be moving out. We gave them to the first quarter next year, so River Edge should be able to meet that determination, and then we'll more than likely we'll be demolishing those buildings there, and we believe that we've secured a nice project to go there. It's going to bring significant money to Macon-Bibb County.
What kind of project? Is it going to be a mixed-use housing, offices, restaurants?
None of those, just good quality jobs and probably
Good
$300 or
quality
$400 million
jobs.
investments.
$400 million investment. Okay, we're going to be looking forward to that. Any more news on Lake Tobosoffke and the Lovejoy Capital proposal for the glamping and such?
No, they're moving forward with the information they needed to get to us, and at some point in time we'll have a recommendation to the commission.
And I noticed that Macon's first black tennis club, the Cross Country Racket Club, just marked 50 years and plans to expand its youth outreach into Pleasant Hill. Have you heard about that? And what else is in store for that community now that y'all are building housing there where the old school was?
Well, I think that's a positive step. Anytime we can have a diverse group of people doing things of that nature. Several people sent me emails today and comments about the new club, and certainly some of those were former teachers from Macon-Bibb County. So I think it just increased the interest there. With the development we have coming to the entry point of Pleasant Hill, it's going to be a fabulous project with Macon Housing Authority, and we've got some great plans for the old gymnasium there and maybe a food co-op there. So things take a little bit of time to get through the works, but I'm excited about the future for that community, and I think they will be too.
We're almost out of time, but I also noticed that the county designated a portion of the Bowden Golf Club in honor and the memory of Jim Hickman. What was it about his job there at Bowden that made him stand up in reaching out to the African American community, do you think?
Well, I just think that he's a man of character, and he loved all people, and he wanted to see everyone succeed, and he had a knack of bringing people from black, white, old, and young together, and I think that he's a great consensus builder, and his life showed that, and certainly he has a terrible loss to Macon-Bibb County, and we want to show how much we appreciate him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for joining us. Remember, send your questions to mercerccj@gmail.com, and we'll catch you next time.